I think it's important to note also that 76ers are probably crumbling mentally in the bubble. I feel like that's something we completely left out.
Yeah.
And it's something important to note.
Yeah.
And it's something we have to talk about in this part of it as well.
Yeah.
So
like, how would MJ deal with the social issues in the country at the time?
I don't know, but I don't
He wouldn't. That's what he would do. He wouldn't.
Probably would just get on the court and play. Here's my case for Michael Jordan succeeding in the bubble, though, and not having it not affect his game in any way, shape, or form. First of all, every single person who played in the bubble said the environment there created a more open, fast-paced style of basketball. That's definitely something that was said because people weren't afraid to run into people underneath the basket, for example. So they were going full speed at the rim as opposed to, little things like that. An empty gym makes it easier to shoot, things like that. I think Jordan, somebody who
Tyler Hero freaking walling for respect in the bubble, and now he's like
Jamal Murray.
Perfect example. Helps the BJ Armstrongs of the world.
Yeah.
But I'm bringing some of that up to say one of the things that present day players could not stand that in the bubble was being isolated for all that time. Was being in the hotel with nobody for long hours. I'm pretty sure that was in Jordan's contract. That he had to be isolated in a hotel. Most of that Last Dance documentary is following him from hotel to hotel room, totally isolated, smoking cigars, and like in a position where he can't really do a lot.
Yeah, but
it's not in public.
But I don't think I feel like that because Michael Jordan would be looked at as the best player in the league, and would he be also him and LeBron would be the face of the leagues?
For sure.
So, I don't think that would put a ton of pressure on LeBron on MJ with all of the social issues going on and him not talking about it. I think that especially with LeBron being so vocal about it, I feel like that would put a ton of media.
Here's my counter to that, and I don't know if it's fair, but tell me if I'm bugging. So Magic and Larry, right, in the 80s, what got them over and what got the league over, and it was a different time, and maybe that'll be the answer to this. Maybe that's how you'll hit me back with it. But they were polar opposites. They got over because they were completely different individuals, right? I think if Michael Jordan and LeBron James played at the same time, I don't know if Michael Jordan would be the overwhelming babyface he was in the 90s, especially if the real, authentic Michael Jordan persona was something that got out, or as opposed to LeBron's PR machine style where everything is crafted and, nothing gets out there without his say-so, for example.
Yep.
I think Jordan did a really good job of that during his era, but I definitely think they would be polar opposites in the way they handled themselves on the court, for sure, and more than likely the way they would handle themselves off of the court. And I just think Jordan would have a really good way to block that out, for better or worse. Say what you want about his opinions towards stuff. I think he is the type of person to go, I don't give a fuck about any of that. I'm just here to hoop and get a championship. I'm single focused. I think he'd be the one of the guys who would be able to easily tune that all out. And if that makes him a bad person,
media era, that's not gonna fly.
Just because social media exists doesn't mean everybody is like always on it constantly. Like,
you don't think so? Because we've talked about MJ being in the social media era and thriving off of it.
Right. I think he would thrive off of it in the same way Kobe did. But Kobe wasn't constantly on his phone on social media. He was using it the way he was using it, like Amnesty, for example, against Mark Cuban. Like, he would do things like that. Like he would, and when he retired, he became way more social media active.
But like social media wasn't as much of a presence when Kobe was playing.
That's fair, but even as far back as 2010, he had his Twitter account.
It wasn't used the same. Like Twitter now is like news, like that. Like you like the news breaks on Twitter now.
I'm not disagreeing, but you can't also say every single basketball player would be on Twitter the same as like, I don't know, like the way LeBron does all his stuff through social. Like, Kawhi Leonard is not on social media like that. For example, he's more quiet, reserved, but then killer on the basketball court. There are guys that are like that.
So Jordan was overwhelmed. Just the very next year with the
2 years.
Oh yeah, 2 years.
The Jordan rules.
Yeah, well, he had the Jordan rules, and then he had the
gambling stuff. That was the 2 years. Yeah.
Yep, 2 years, and he was overwhelmed by that.
Right.
So I just can't imagine that would, especially if he's not at least saying something about it. If he's just trying to ignore it, like that was actually like it was something that made all the players have to talk about it. No one could just not talk about that at the time. That was like a prominent thing in the NBA. Like games were like, how are you gonna have the Bucks not play a playoff?
No, yeah.
And
I get what you're saying.
You can't run from it.
Yeah, but I think he would do like a statement. I don't think he'd spend more than 10 minutes like really having that affect his day. I just don't. I think he's that type of individual. He's just very single focused, single minded. He would sit in his hotel room and think about winning a championship. Like he's just one of those people. Like and do I think that there are people in the bubble at that point who were trying to do that? Yeah, I think there are. But again, to your point, it was hard to do. But I think that that's why a guy like Jimmy Butler carried his team to the finals, because that's another guy. It's not super on social media. Like he got social media platforms and he uses them from time to time, but singular focus, singular, you know what I mean? Like driven, hard-nosed mentality type shit. I think that's where Jordan absolutely thrives.
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler was like, nah, I'm not bringing my family. This is a business trip.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan is exactly like that.
Yeah.
If I was just going to pull Michael Jordan into this era, I would have put him on the Heat.
Yeah.
He'd be the perfect Miami Heat. Him and Pat Riley, they could actually win together instead of fight each other.
Yeah.
And kick each other out of suites.